Welcome back, everybody, to the FloTrack podcast. I am Kevin. He is Gordon. Subscribe to the FloTrack podcast YouTube channel if you haven't yet already. It is NCAA Indoor Championship Week. Gordon is almost en route to the championships himself. This is the last pod before Gordon is on his way to Birmingham, Alabama. Gordon, good morning. How are you?
That's right. I got a flight to catch after this podcast to Birmingham. And then I'll be at a track meet for like the first time in a long, long time. I'm excited. I was thinking about it the other day. I will have gone like one full year of no track meets because of COVID, and another full year of remote track meets, covering remote track meets because of COVID. And now, exactly 2 years later, because we were on the ground when they shut down the world in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
I'll be able to be back.
Wait,
so I'm excited.
You really haven't been to one since?
Not for like in a FloTrack capacity, no. We went to like the cross-country stuff. That doesn't count.
Right.
No,
that's weird.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I think it's the same with me as well, too. All right. Well, just raises the stakes there. Even more exciting. Gordon back on the ground.
Exactly.
This pod is brought to you by Hoka, makers of the new Cielo X spikes. You got the MD, you got the LD. Gordon holding those up. The MD is for mid-distance, the LD for long distance. The website is hoka.com, hoka.com. Hoka, faster, forward. Gordon, we want to talk about the picks before we get into, we're going to talk about Mondo's world record, and then we're going to talk about, obviously, previewing the NCAA meet. But tell us about this week's Pick'em Challenge.
That's right. We had a great start to our FloTrack Pick'em Challenge. We did Tokyo Marathon. We had only, it was surprising, a lot of people entered, but only 6 people went 3 for 3 with picking the correct 3 picks for Kipchoge's time, Sarah Hall's result, and how many Japanese men will finish in the top 10. We gave out our prize to one of the 6 people who got it correct. They got a text message saying they won. Congrats. And now we're going to do it again. But this time, you got to go 5 for 5. So for the NCAA Indoor Championships, we're launching a new pick'em. 5 questions. Can you go 5 for 5? If you go 5 for 5, you're going to win. Potential, you're going to be in the lottery to win a gift card. But here's the thing. Clearly, not everyone's going 5 for 5. So your odds are going to be very good if you're one of the lucky few who actually go 5 for 5 in the 5 questions. The 5 questions, we're going to have how many points will Abdi Hamid Nur and Nico Young score combined? They're in both the 3K and the 5K. So max would be 36 points if they went 1, 2 in both. The least would be 0 if they finished 9th and 10th in both events. But that's not going to happen. They're not going to score 0 points. So pick that. Then the next question is, will Abby Steiner run sub 22 seconds in the 200 meters? Currently, she's run 22:09 this year. Will she break 22, which would be the second woman ever to do that? That's the question, yes or no. Next question, will Randolph Ross break Michael Norman's American record of 44:52? Randolph Ross has already run 44 seconds this year. Now all the championship hype around it, this may be a time for him to rip a fast one. We know he can run 43 seconds outdoors. Can he do it indoors? And then the last 2 questions, who will win the women's team title and who will win the men's team title? And you have your picks. We gave you options. You don't have to type anything in. You just pick the option you think is going to happen, put in your phone number, and then you're in the running. Again, you got to go 5 for 5, though. You got to go 5 for 5. I went 3 for 3.
I'm going to go.
I was one of the 6 people who went 3 for 3, surprisingly.
And I had a rough one. I was 1 for 3, but this is where I turned it around. I'm going 5 for 5, and I will reveal my picks later on the show. I'm feeling pretty good about going 5 for 5 this time around, Gordon. I was thinking, if we had started to pick them at the beginning of the year for our bold predictions for 2022 and the things we were arguing about, you would have been 1-0 over me, because one of the things we debated was first to break a world record. You took Mondo. I took Krauser. For a moment, I thought I was a genius at the Milrose games because it was his second throw, but the laser was off. And instead, we get Mondo breaking the world record in the beginning of March after several attempts at 619. He had so many close calls, Gordon, and he finally did it. 619 this year.
619. It is insane when you look at how in just a matter of a couple years, Mondo has basically redesigned the all-time record books. Because if you bring up Travis, if you bring up the all-time indoor pole vault performances, Mondo has just destroyed Bubka's dominance of the list. Because now Mondo has vaulted 619, 618, 617. Boom, boom, boom. 3 in a row on the top. I don't think it's ever going to slow down. He's still extremely young. He's like beginning his prime in a way. So I think he's going to be vaulting 620s multiple times when it's all said and done. Really just taking a sport, wait for it, to new heights.
Oh, goodness me. I think there's no doubt he's going to continue to push this higher because he's had so many good attempts at 619. It wasn't as if he just had an amazing day where everything came together. This is, I think, where he's going to be able to hit consistently in the next couple of years. I mean, yeah, is he going to have days where he only goes 605 or 610? Sure, but I think 619, just how close he got on a number of attempts throughout the season, just tells me that he's ready to go beyond this. 620, 622. I mean, I don't know where it's going to stop at a certain point. You are going to have to build a bigger building to accommodate Mondo Duplantis's vaults. The other step that he needs to take, though, if you look at the outdoor list, yeah, he's at the top, but there is the Sergei Bubka dominance after that. Just the consistency of Bubka between, the 610 and all the way through to 614 is quite remarkable. So, outdoors, yes, he has that mark, but I think Mondo, being the competitive guy that he is, probably wants equal level dominance outdoors as he has indoors.
My desire for him next is I want him to be the first ever to set his opening height at 6 meters. Like, I want him to enter a competition where that be his first vault, 6 meters, because he shows how dominant he can be vaulting over 6 meters. Just showing like, hey, yeah, you know what? Everyone's lifetime PBs, that's my opening height. Like, that's what I'm doing. That's what I want to see from Duplantis next.
He's just going to show up midway through the competition. He's going to be warming up when everybody else is finishing. They're fighting for silver and bronze, and then Mondo comes in. And it's going to be incredibly risky, too, because people are like, wait a minute, you're entering at 6 meters? What are we doing here? You need to make sure that you got to get a safe one. And you just be like, no, this is my safe vault. It's like 6 meters is going to be the safe vault. I was going to say, who do you think is going to lose first, Kipchoge or Mondo? But I think that's an easier question because Kipchoge only runs twice a year. So I think the answer would be Mondo.
Yeah.
And also,
yeah. I mean,
Mondo's 15 years younger than Kipchoge too.
Yeah. And when you vault so often, you're gonna have a bad day. It's like, oh, I don't feel well, or just you make a mistake. You only get 3 attempts, and you brain fart the first one, then you may have a bad move the second attempt, and then you're unlucky the third, and it's like, oh, it's done. So I don't. Do
you remember last year he went 17 and 18 in quick succession? I think it's like a week apart. So I don't know if 19. I know we're getting to the end of indoors and world championships. Maybe the priority is not chasing the world record, but I do think that we'd be fools if we said, "Yep, this is where it stops." 619. Oh, he's done it. No. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go up by huge increments because the better you get, the harder it is. But it is going to be a centimeter here, a centimeter there, and there's no reason to think 619 is going to be what his lifetime PB is going to be. Right? What would you set the over under at?
Lifetime PB over under will be 623.
I'll go over.
Whoa. All right.
Over. Yeah, I'm optimistic. Do you know how small a centimeter is, Gordon? It's quite small.
623 and a half. 623 and a half.
Still going over. I think we're gonna
because
see a mid
he only breaks
620s from him.
he only breaks world records by centimeters. So that means he would do it 20, 21, 22,
Hmm.
24 more times. Do you think he's going to break the world record 5 more times?
He's 22. Yeah, I think he can.
Okay. But I think he's going to have years where he doesn't do it. I think
Sure,
he's
but
going to be
again, he's
done with his
20.
prime by like 20 by 30. So it's 8 years. So I
So
think
that
every
gives
other
him
year he does it.
8 years.
Every other
That's
year.
a lot of wiggle room if you think he's gonna be at this level for 8 more years. I
That's
think
true.
he's gonna have that similar outdoor level of I think he wants to get his outdoor mark probably up to where his indoor mark is. So he probably wants to get the 620 outdoors too, and then
Yeah.
just completely dominate that all time list. So Mondo world record. What else is new? All right, let's jump into the NCAA indoor previews. Let's run through these picks. First of all, let's start up with the pick 'em. Um, explain. Well, you already explained the picks, but what are you going with in all these? Where's the Gordon smart money on?
We'll go one by one. So, first question: how many points will NAU score with just their 2 guys, Abdihamid Nur and Nico Young? Again, they're both in the 3K, 5K. So if they go 1-2 in both, it's 18 points each event. It's 36 points. Right now, I put the picks at 30 plus, 20 to 29, 10 to 19, 9 and less. 30 plus is basically they had the incredible weekend that they are potentially able to do. 20 to 29, I feel like it's like the safe bet. Like they're good. They're probably going to both finish All American, and maybe one or both of them are going to have one race where they finish top 2. 10 19, I would say, is when they're both kind of just not really there. And then 9 or less is like they're DNFing. So, what are you going with?
I am going with the second highest. I'm going 20 to 29 in this group because I look at the 3K and it's just incredibly deep this year. And it's going to be their second event. I know a lot of people are going to be running on tired legs, but I could see a situation there where one of them slips down a bit out of the top 5. And to score 30 between the two events, they have to be really good in every single. I mean, each of them has to be really good in the 5 and really good in the 10. They can't really have one where they lay an egg. And I mean, even if they go 2-3, 2-3 in both of these, so they go 8-6, that's 14, 8-6, that'd be 28 total. So that's an amazing weekend, and it still doesn't get them to 30. You need at least one victory, or you get a victory, and then instead of maybe having a 6, you have a 4. So I'm in that second group, 20 to 29.
I was going to stay in that second group, but I'm going with 30 plus. And I know that's like on the rarer end. And it's not like I think it's mainly because you look at this 5K field, and I
It's
legitimately
good
think
too.
NAU's going, I think they're going 1-2 in that race. I can't think of anyone on that field who I think is going to beat either of them. Like, because when you look at the field, all right, Adrian Wildschut, yeah, he ran 13:09 at BU,
You
but
just said,
like,
yeah, he ran 13:09. You just hand waved away a 13:09. Come on, man. Come on, he can
no,
totally
yeah,
win. Wildchuck can totally win. 13:09.
but does Wildshot have the kick? Does he have the mile speed that Nur and Young have shown? I don't think so. I think Dylan Jacobs, does he have the kick? I don't think so. Kip2 clearly does not have a kick. He's losing his Big 12 meets. Kai Robinson, no. Aaron Benfeld, he had to wait to the last minute to get in. None of these guys stand out as like scary 5K threats, you know? I mean, maybe a Moine Kemboy, but no, he had to run, barely got in. I think NAU also has the luxury of having a third teammate there and Drew Bosley to kind of make sure they're in a comfortable position if he go out there and paces it for them or something like that. I don't know. I just think there's a high probability that they at least score 16 points. I think it's going to be 18, but at least they get 16. 16 or
Okay,
15 because they're going to win. And I don't think the second guy, if they win, the second guy's not getting worse than third. And then if he got fourth, that's still 15 points.
Okay, but even if they go one, say they get 15, you need 15 then from day 2. And if you go 8-6, that's 14. You're still short.
Yeah, that's why I don't think they're
You'd
going to get
need
15. They're going to get at least 16.
Okay, but even still, that means they basically need to repeat it again almost in the 3K. And there's no way you can say the 3K field is soft. Looking at who's in that, Nagoose,
Yeah, but you got
Kemboy,
Nagoose. Yes,
Herrera, Sprout, Beatles come.
Nagoose is going to win. Nagoose will win. But here's the thing:
Okay, so then you've
You would
already
take
taken.
Herrera. You would take Herrera over Nico or Abdi Hamid?
Well, I'm not going to discount him and say he doesn't have a chance. He's going to be running fresh, so that's going to count for something.
Yeah. Beatles come would be someone I would look out for, but he's not going to be fresh. He's going to be running the mile final an hour earlier. And Kip 2, I'm just
But
taking off the board.
here's the problem with what you did, though. You gave Nagoose 1, which you should. That's right. But then that means the highest amount of points they can score then is 14.
Yeah.
Correct? Which means
Yes.
you need 16 at least
Yeah.
from the 5K. And
Correct.
16, like the best thing, I guess if they went, put Bosley aside. I know you're giving Bosley a point, but just put Bosley aside. To get to 16, again, they won 3. They have to do 1-3 or 1-2. Those are the only
And I
options.
think they'll do that. I look
I
at
don't
a
know. I
5K
think there's
field, and there's a high chance one of those guys is going to win, and the other guy's going to finish top 3. I just think that's going to happen. And then based on that, I can go into the 3K, be like, all right, yeah, they can get to 30.
I know, but there's also a chance that Sprout, Beatles could both finish, or Herrera, Kemboy, or whatever could push them down. Right. Also, I think the pace is going to be fast in the 5. You're talking about finishing kicks, and better to have one than to not have one. But I think they're going to go out hard. I think with all those PBs in there, and with how we know a lot of those guys run, it's going to go out. It's going to go out hard. So I'm going 20-29 on that one.
All right.
What's the second one?
Will Abby Steiner run sub 22 seconds? Again, she's run 22:09 at SEC champs. Will she be the second woman ever to break 22 seconds indoors behind Marilyn Audi, Jamaican great? I'm going with a no. What are you going with? No as well?
That's it? No explanation? You've
Well, no, you're
only
going with
picked for 3 years, all you've picked is Abby Steiner to set records, and then the moment you do it with Pick'em, you're like, I'm going no, and then you offer no
well,
explanation afterwards.
hold on. She already has the record, and I think she will. I think she's going to break 22:09. I think she'll run 22:04. I just
Yeah.
don't think she's going to run 21:99. So that's
I went
my.
no.
I,
I went no in part because I thought you'd go yes, and I need to make up some ground on you in this Pick'em contest because I'm already down by 2. I think I mean, is how fast this comes down to like how quick is this track versus another track. '09 is already out there, as you mentioned. I mean, she's number 2 in history, and only Audie's gone under 22 indoors. So sub 22 would be amazing, and I'm not ready to go there yet.
yeah. I think she's going to PR. I think she's going to run sub 22:09. I'm not ready to go for the 21:99. Also think she has the 60-meter finals
Right.
that she's going to be working on. She's getting ready for a 4x4 after. So she's not just going all in on one event.
Yeah.
So her legs might be a bit tired from the prelims and stuff like that. But yeah, I still think she's going to dominate. I still think she's going to put up a mark that everyone's going to be like, whoa, and she might be the female athlete of the meet. I think based on what she does, especially if she does well in the 60.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going with sub 22:09, but not sub 22 seconds.
The interesting thing with the schedule being all condensed, really, it's really tight. Like that turnaround is really short between each event. If people don't do well, it's like, man, maybe we shouldn't have underestimated how tough it is to double or triple in this meet. But then a lot of times they still do well, and you just say it's the NCAA championships. It's just every year someone comes up with something. Like you could see both paths. in
Yeah.
this meet. But yeah, I have her over 22 there. What is number 3? Pick number 3.
Pick number 3 is Randolph Ross. Will Randolph Ross break Michael Norman's American record of 44.52 at the NCAA championships? I'm going with a yes, and you're going with a yes as well. I
Hmm.
think this is all based off our insider knowledge, is because we went out to North Carolina A&T a few weeks ago to grab a workout
Hmm.
Wednesday, which will come out later this year. It's going to come out during the outdoor season. Um, and he was like, I'm going to break the world record. So if he thinks he can break the world record, all right, I'm going to believe it. He felt like he could have done it at the Clemson meet, but he
Hmm.
ran 44.83 with a shove, like with being kind of cut off. You
With
take away
almost
that cut
stopping.
off, you're going to run even quicker. So I think he's going to demolish Michael Norman's 44.52. And so I'm going with yes, he will break that record.
So that mark is actually faster than the world record because Norman's mark never got ratified as a world record. So the world record is actually 57. So in a way, you're picking him to do something even better than Norman's mark, or he could miss. He could miss Norman's mark and still get the world record. I think he's going to get it. I was convinced just by how fast he ran in that race against Godwin, even though they went to a complete standstill almost at one point. You worry a little bit about the lane draw, but this is a guy sub 44 outdoors last year, right? Ran one of the quickest times in the world last year. I think if worlds were earlier, or sorry, the Olympics were earlier, and it's not his, I mean, everybody knows that going in. It's just tough to be a college athlete, run a whole season, and then try to go at the Olympics. I think his performance at the Olympics would have been much better in the open quarter if it was closer. So I think people are a little bit behind on how good Ross is because of what happened at the Olympics. Oh, just another college guy, and then he went, and then he didn't perform as well as he did in NCAA's. No, I think this guy's definitely legit. He's proved it, and I think he can knock off that time just based on the fact that no one's going to be stopping in front of him, or hopefully that does not happen. No one stops on the track record.
So we're both going with yes, sub
Yes,
44.52.
yeah, I'm a yes on that one for sure.
So these next two picks are going to make or break your potential of going 5 for 5 because I think this is the hardest ones to predict.
Yeah.
First one, who will win the women's team title? I give 4 options: Florida, Texas, Arkansas, and other. Other university is everyone not named Florida, Texas, and Arkansas. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going with Florida. You're going with Florida. I have to go with Florida because they've been my number one team since day one. After they got those big transfers and Jasmine Moore and Anna Hall in the multis and
Mhm.
longs and triple jumps, you just got to go with Florida women. And um, they've done nothing to really dispel their chances in my mind. Now, obviously, I had them at scoring 100 points like a month ago. They're not going to do that. But, they're going to have a lot of
Yeah.
people in finals. They're going to be spread across everywhere. They did lose their one distance star in Parker Valby, but at the end of the day, it's fine. They're going to be fine. They're going to have, you know, Claire Bryant in the high jump and long jump, Barrett in the 800, Diggs in the
Mhm.
60, 200, 400, Anna Hall in
Yeah.
the high jump, 60 hurdles. It's just, they're all over the place. So I think it's Florida for the win.
Yeah. For me, it's Florida. They're not dependent on any one athlete. So if someone goes and has a bad day, they can recover from it. And they're not dependent on any one event, too. So if one event gets wonky or weird, they can recover from that because in many of these events, they have multiple people in the events. And you're right, they're covered in a bunch of different events. And I look at some of these field events, you see more in the long jump. I feel good about that being 10 points. I look at the triple, Moore and Hooper 1 and 2, and at least Moore is well clear of everybody else in the triple. So I feel good about those 10 points. You go into the pentathlon, Anna Hall, 200 points clear of everybody else this year. I know pentathlon scores, it's because you just do a score to qualify and then you move on. But you feel good about them getting easily to 40 points, no problem, before even dipping into some of these other events. And you have them projected 63 points. So if you need 60, let's just say 65 to win, to me, you think, all right, now how do you cobble together the other 25 points? And that's where you go with Diggs. That's where you go with Stark. And you go with your relay. And you go with, you go to the 800. You go to the high jump. So I think Texas and Arkansas would need to have really good days, almost perfect days. And then Florida would have to have several mishaps for Florida to win. And then those are obviously the three that are cut above.
And it's interesting because Arkansas women, I believe, won SECs, right?
Correct. Yep, they did. Yeah,
And
yeah.
this
So it's
happens a
possible.
lot where the team, it's possible Arkansas can win, but this happens a lot where the team that doesn't win their own conference goes on and wins nationals because it's a lot harder to win a conference championship than a national championship. That sounds weird to say it out loud. It's harder to win a conference championship than a national championship. Uh, but when you're
Different.
dealing with SECs, I would say that's actually harder to win SECs than it is to win nationals because nationals you win with 4 studs, 4 stars.
Yeah.
Conferences you win with 4 studs, 4 stars, but then also 12 really, really good athletes. You win with
Mm-hmm.
depth. You don't need depth to win a national title. But Arkansas, though, they're in there. Them and Texas, I have them both scoring 50 points. So they're in the conversation. They're not out of the question. Texas is coming off their Big 12 championship. They dominated there. Arkansas coming off of their SEC championship. They dominated there. So Texas and Arkansas are good picks. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I just think Florida's going to have it on their day. They got the surefire 10 pointers that will take down Texas and Arkansas.
Yeah, and I get your point about conference and nationals being two entirely different types of meets. And listen, at SECs, more like the triple jump went to form with Moore and Hooper, and the long jump went well. Um, but there were some events where I think they would have wanted to do better, and that's ultimately why Arkansas was able to get them and to win. I mean, they didn't run a 4x4 either, so obviously that would not happen at the national meet. But I think they would need to have they would need to have even a tougher day than they had at SECs to lose. They would need more people to underperform than they did at SECs
Yeah.
to lose. But I just don't see that happening. And then you look at Texas, right? You have them slotted in at 50 points, tied with Arkansas, and obviously they have a lot of entrants as well too. But nobody can reach the heights that Florida can reach this year if they're on their A game.
Yeah. But hopefully it gets close and hopefully it comes down to that 4x4 because it'll be great to see those 3 schools all have a chance to win it in the final race because that's what you want to see. Some good old flat fashion drama. So,
Yeah, yeah. All right,
all right,
men.
final
What do you think?
question. Men, the final question of the 5 is who will win the men's team title? Georgia, Arkansas, North Carolina, A&T, Texas, and none of the above. So I added another team there to give you more options. Right now, Georgia's ranked 1, Arkansas is 2. I believe Texas is 3, and A&T is 5 or 4, something like that. Oh, no. Okay, Georgia's 1, Arkansas 2. NAU and Texas are tied for 3, and North Carolina A&T is 5. I took NAU out
Yeah.
of this because I don't think they're going to win.
Why? You just
But
had
I
them
think,
going over. You had them going over 30 just a second ago.
yeah, but I think you're going to score 40 points to win, and I think
Why not 40?
Texas and Carolina, North Carolina A&T can actually score 40 points, whereas NAU obviously can't because they only got 2 guys. So anyway, all right, Georgia, Arkansas, Texas, North Carolina A&T. Who are you picking?
All right. So this is very hard because this is the opposite of the women's situation. If you look at the men's entries, just the sheer total from these contenders is so much smaller than on the women's side. Georgia, the hopes rise and fall with bowling. 60, 200, long jump, 4x4. Yeah, they have a heptathlete, Kyle Garland, who's seated second. They have Elijah Godwin, but it's really bowling in terms of getting to that 40 number, right? I mean, that's it. And then you go to these other teams, right? And it's just a few athletes scattered here and there. So I talked about sure things before. I feel good about Randolph Ross in the quarter for A&T. I think I think their 4x4s, they're not seeded first, but just with the power of Ross, I think they're obviously a big threat to win. And then they got some hurdlers out there as well too. They got short sprinters, they got a long jumper. This is gonna be such a weird meet on the men's side when you're looking at the team competition. So I went with A&T over Georgia, over Arkansas, and Texas.
So yeah, your A and T pick, I think, is going to hinder not just on Ross because that's a given,
Hurdles.
but
So
that
hurdles.
freshman, yeah,
Mustari.
who
Yep.
Leonard Mostari, who broke the world junior record running 7:55 in the hurdles back in Clemson. My question though is he didn't run well at his conference meet, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of worried he might not be fully healthy, and if he's not, it's gonna be hard for him to make up for his absence. Now they do have other hurdlers in the mix. Rasheem Brown's good, and obviously they have people in different events. But the big question is, what will he do? So yeah, here's a post he had. I've learned a lot through my life, but my most important, learn from your mistakes. Nationals next. So this is him showing him not really doing too well at his own conference meet. And I think maybe he's fine and he's going to bounce back. He's a freshman after all, so maybe he kind of got too confident for a conference meet when he knew he was supposed to win, and it didn't happen. But if he does put together, your A and T pick will be a good pick. I just have a
Yeah.
feeling it's not going to work. Maybe they need to wait one more year for A and T to get the actual title. I do think A and T will podium though for that. They're definitely going to podium.
But the problem is everybody has these big question marks. And this is some of your teams, and I'm looking at this, some of the teams in this top four group are one injury or a DQ or something away from scoring like 5 points in this meet because they
Yeah.
just don't have that many people. And we've seen meets go south. So you're only in a couple events, and one person just doesn't show or gets hurt or no heights, right? And the heptathlon doesn't go well or they don't get out of the prelim or something. Like some of these teams are going to come completely tumbling down. So in a way, I'm also just looking at whose floor is the highest.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Arkansas has a lot of people. They're kind of spread out all over the place with their heptathletes. They got some distance people. They got the DMR. I think they
But
have the
who are you
DMR.
sure? Like Aiden Owens,
I'm
I
not sure if they
get
have the
like in
DMR.
the hep.
They don't have the DMR. Oh
They
yeah,
do.
they
They
do.
do.
They do have the DMR.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you have Aiden Owens in the hep, right? Who's seated number one. But like, who else are you like really sure about is going to get big points?
John Baker's good in the long jump. I'm not sure about it. And they do have
Uh,
Kemboy in the 3K, 5K. Again, I'm not sure about it. They have guys who I think can win or get like 8 points. But then I
yeah.
also can see a real world where they're getting seventh and getting 2 points.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
what I'm
happens too.
bringing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're the 5 seed in something, can you win? Absolutely. But you can also fall completely out of the points too. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, this is just a difficult meet to pick. So you're going with Georgia.
I'm going with Georgia because I'm just going to go with the bowling factor. Let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about bowling. Bowling. How many events? So he's doing 4 events, Matthew Bowling. Long jump,
Yeah.
60, 200, 4x4.
Yeah.
One, do you think he's going to, how many events do you think he wins of those 4?
I think the over under would be 1.5 if we were setting a line. And I think I'm gonna go one just because of the cumulative toll of the competition is going to catch up to him. So I think he's going to win the long jump. I also think he could win the 200, but it's tough with the schedule.
I'm most confident that he would win the 200 of the four events. And then I also do think he's going to win the long jump. So I'm going to go over that 1.5 over under. I think he wins two events. I think he wins the long. I think he wins the 200. I think he makes the final in the 60, but finishes like fifth. So doesn't score much in the 60. And I think their 4x4, if they're in it, they're going to finish in the top five, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be hopefully enough. I mean, they're not going to win the 4x4. He's not going to win the 60. He's not a good 60 runner yet. He almost won the 60. Was it the SEC like virtual tie they had, and that 60
Mm-hmm.
was kind of
Mm-hmm.
wild. But yeah, I think it's going to be the bowling show. I think bowling will be. It's going to be weird. Bowling will be the athlete of the meet if they win, and if he doesn't win, the athlete of the meet is going to be Randolph Ross, because he's going to break the world record. But yeah, bowling. It's going to be all bowling.
So here's bowling schedule for the weekend. Friday, 4:15. Actually, 4 o'clock on Friday. Let me start that over. Here's bowling schedule. 4 p.m. Friday, long jump, prelim/final. 4:15. So in the middle of that, he's got his 60-meter semifinal. At 5:25 p.m., he has his 200-meter semifinal. Then the next day, Saturday, if he makes it to the 60 final, let's just assume he makes the finals and everything, 4:10 in the 60, 40 minutes later in the 200, and then 30 minutes after that in the 4x4. Like, that is a condensed schedule. So day one, you have him competing in the prelims in the midst of taking all these jumps. And then day two, you have between 4:10 and 5:20 him going 60, 200, and a 400. Again, they've prepped for this, so he's going to be able to handle the workload. But at a meet of this caliber, that him versus someone fresh or fresher in those events, that can be the difference.
What do you think is harder? Doing a 60, 200, 4x4 in a 2-hour span? Because that's what he's going to be doing. Or doing a mile 3K in a 2-hour span?
Wait, 2 hour versus 1 hour, or 2 hour versus
2-hour span.
2 hour?
So the meet's only 2 hours long. It's from 4 to 6.
No, it's shorter
So,
than that. It's 4 to 5,
oh,
like 30 on Saturday. I mean, there's
yeah, okay, 5:30. Well, it ends at no, but the last event it's 3 heats, so it ends
sure.
around 6.
Okay. Right, but yeah, okay.
There's 3 heats.
Um,
Yeah, I'm just saying,
I
is
mean,
it
a
harder to do
mile.
3 events in 2 hours, 3 sprint events in 2 hours, or 2 distance events in 2 hours?
I mean, I'll say the distance events, but I mean, I think it's both difficult, and it matters both. Just especially in the distance side of things, how hard are they getting pushed? Hawker made it look easy last year, but remember all the horror a few years ago when you told him it was a great idea to run of like 3 events, and that didn't work out very well for him. But then we see the sprint side of it too. Remember, was it Houston? That one. I mean,
Yeah,
multiple people like the 2-4 in particular. Like, this schedule is crazy. So the 4 to the 2 that's 30 minutes. There's not a lot of time.
yeah.
This is the
I
condensed thing that
mean,
they started last year with COVID. I mean, it already was tight, and this just makes it even tighter. Correct?
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't pretend to understand how much how much energy gets taken out of you when doing a 60-meter dash. Your
Hmm.
brain wants to tell you, "Oh, you're fine. You only went 60 meters. Like,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. Like, just take like a 10-minute break, and you'll be ready to go." And then but they are putting their bodies through like an extreme amount of force, an extreme amount of energy boost. Even though it's only for 6 seconds, it is a lot.
Yeah.
And the question is, can you refill your booster by the time you get to your 200? Now, obviously, I think
Yeah.
bowling's gonna be fine. He's one of the best in the country, so It's not like he's me out there trying to run a 60 and a 200. It's a world class athlete. But you want to
I
know if
think also,
that 60 prelim, the 60 final is going to take away from his 200 final, and instead of winning, he gets third, and then all of a sudden Georgia's team title chances start plummeting.
I'll say this: it's easier to mimic in practice all out 60, all out 200, all out 400 with rest in between than it is to mimic all out mile, all out 3K in a workout.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So that's a more
100%.
familiar feeling for the athletes. All right, what else are you interested in seeing at this meet?
You go first.
Okay, I will go first. Women's side of things, women's distance and women's sprint. So first with the women's sprint, I think it's interesting we have a group of women who are doing the hurdle flat 60 double, which is fun, right? That's like a good, that's like a fun thing to watch to see the versatility of these women. So like Aaliyah Armstrong and Grace Stark, Armstrong from LSU and Grace Stark from Florida in both events, and they're both highly seeded. Both ran against each other at SEC, so they're very familiar with one another. Armstrong is the number one seed in the 60. Stark is number two, ahead of Abby Steiner, who's in third, and then 60-meter hurdles. Armstrong is one, Stark is three. So that's going to be something fun to watch. Just because the meet does happen like bang 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 bang, it's cool to see people either continue their dominance or bounce back after coming up short. And then on the distance side of things, for the women, you have a chance at a Courtney Wayment double with the 5 and the 3. She's the number one seed in the 5. I mean, no one's run within 10 seconds of her in the 5. You have a big NC State presence in the 3K. Number one seed there is Lauren Ryan. Kayla McCabe is the number 3 seed, but she ran really fast in the winter and then at BU, and then I think we only saw her once this year, right? At Big 12s. I haven't seen her in 2022. So
Yeah, I think she was dealing with an injury. So yeah.
yeah. So we got a big sorry. So we have a big chance of a Wayment double for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Wayman's kind of been quietly, like it's been kind of quiet all season because she went to Milrose, wasn't really in the mix there. I think she ran at USA's as well, wasn't in the mix. So she's been kind of not really going to like college meets and dominating. She's been kind of just getting, rolled up by the best like American women. So
Mhm.
maybe this will be. Oh yeah, we forget Courtney Wayment's one of the best runners in the NCAA.
Yeah,
She's not
exactly.
out there ripping fast BU miles and stuff like that. So I am excited for that double. That would be interesting to see if she can pull that off. For me, the first thing I'm most excited about is the men's DMR. Good
Mm,
old fashioned Notre Dame men. Can they do it? Keep on doing it. They keep winning.
yeah.
They got the best smiler in the world. Not in the world, in the country. Not in the country, in the NCAA. Uh,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's really good. Yared Nuguse.
They
So
have
I'm
Yarda
excited.
Just say they have Yarda
I'm
Yeah.
excited to see if there's any team that can take down Notre Dame. I think there are teams out there with the wildness of the DMR. Everyone's running extremely fast. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of fresh DMRs. I think Washington's going to be pretty fresh in that DMR. Texas might be somewhat fresh. Ole Miss is my team most likely to pull off the upset
Yeah.
because they do got Mario Garcia Romo, who will be in the mile prelim, but he is a 352 type guy. So I don't think a
Yeah.
mile prelim is going to affect his anchoring ability in the DMR. I think it's going to come down to Ole Miss and Notre Dame, and I'm excited to see what happens. If you're a betting man, you should probably bet that Notre Dame's going to win again. But if you
Yeah.
like taking some risks, you put it on Ole Miss and ride it and see what happens. But I'm excited to see how that
Yeah.
DMR unfolds.
I'm just going with Notre Dame. I'm going with Notre Dame on that one. I think Nagus is going to win that, and he's going to win the 3,000. And the 3,000, I think, will be a good race because Beatlescombe is in there as well. And strangely, Beatlescombe's best chance is going to be mile. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I thought 5K. Like, this is going to be the
Yeah.
5K. He should do the 5K. He's not even entering the 5K. He's in the mile and the 3,000. The men's mile will be interesting. Women's mile is going to be a chance for someone just to put their name on the map, because if you look at just the entries, there are a lot of people there who would be unfamiliar names to people. McKay from uh, Binghamton is the number 1 seed. Haymack, Camarena, Gibson, Chip Keme, Vissa, Borman, Heisterman. That's the top 8. So top seed is 430. I think, no, I think regardless of who wins, that's a surprise. But you've made this point before. I feel like that's how the women's mile every year is at the NCAA, and then that person then goes on and backs it up outdoors or goes on to do something, and you're like, oh, okay, that's where they got it done for the first time.
I'm naming the women's mile the Brooks Mile because I think whoever wins that indoor mile is going to sign with Brooks Beasts this summer. I'm predicting that
Purrier
the
didn't
indoor
sign with Brooks
mile
Beast.
champion. I know.
Purrier
I'm
won it,
not
remember?
saying every indoor mile champion signs with Brooks. I'm saying the 2022 indoor mile champion
This one
is going to sign with Brooks. That's what I'm calling
Yeah.
the 2022 Brooks indoor mile. Because I think whoever wins this race will sign with Brooks.
Another candidate for athlete of the meet on the men's side, Trey Cunningham.
Yeah.
740 this year. If he gets Holloway's
Quiet
record,
740.
very extremely quiet. One of the quieter 740s we've ever seen. No, if Trey Cunningham was just a pro right now and competing on the world scene, he'd be the number 2 ranked hurdler. If he's going to world indoors, it'd be him and Holloway. I think if he breaks that collegiate record, I think he'll be in the mix for athlete of the meet for sure.
He should ride on his spikes before he runs the 60. Like, sorry, Grant. And then when he wins in 60 and breaks the record, he takes his shoes off, puts it at the camera. Sorry, Grant.
Pulls a Josh
Get a
Kerr.
little Florida on Florida State crime. Florida State on Florida crime.
Yeah. Let's see who else. I mean, the 8s will be fun. I think Brandon Miller is deservedly the favorite for the men.
Yes.
Women more wide open. Women's 4 is important for the team race with the athletes in there. That'll be there's those events that end up swinging the meet, and that's one of them for sure.
Yeah, for the women's team race, it's all like 60 hurdles, 400 and 200 are like the 4 most important events because that's an event where we have most of the Florida and Texas and Arkansas all together. Now, obviously, Arkansas is going to be like trying to pull some points in the 3K, the DMRs, and some field events, but like those 4 sprint finals, that's really going to decide the meet for the women.
Yeah. And that's cool that it's a multitude of events that are going to decide the meet, as opposed to these 2 teams are only going to square off against each other in one event, or they don't even square off against each other at all. I think it's a lot more fun when there's a bunch of events that we can see the key teams involved in. For the men, though, it's going to be, what's the lowest possible score you could see winning for the men?
35.
That'd be
I think
funny.
it might break a record. I think it's going to be really low.
Do you
I think
know
40
the lowest?
wins. I don't. Did you look it up?
I don't have it in front of me, or to the side of me, or behind me. It's nowhere around me. I do not have that skill. I'm sure we'll see it if it comes up. Hey, Coach, how does it feel to win with the lowest team score in history? Well, it was a defensive battle out there, Gordon. It really locked us up early on.
Hey, I like it though when when it is a low scoring potential, it gives more teams like a fighting chance. Like we only said those podium teams, A&T, Georgia, Arkansas, and Texas. But at the same time, there's teams that I have projected scoring like 20-ish points, like Florida, where if all of a sudden those guys who I have getting 6th are all getting 3rd, and they do that 4 times, all of a sudden they're at 32 points and maybe they're winning. So
so there's a lot of what ifs, especially because of which athletes went pro, which ones decided to stay because of the eligibility, right? You can say, well, Hawker could still be there, and if Hawker's there for Oregon, right, they're in the mix.
Yeah,
but there's a crazy stat here. So Houston men didn't qualify any sprinters, BYU men didn't qualify any distance runners. And on the second point there, like if Mance had stayed, because BYU's got some pole vaulters out there. So if you're talking getting to 40 points, if BYU had their normal representation of men's distance runners, they absolutely could have gotten to 40 points in this meet. Not a question.
Yeah.
They have the
I'm
number
sure Ed
one and number
Eyestone is
seven, number one
kicking
and number
myself.
7 ranked pole vaulters. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what. I mean, we know just it got crazy fast, right? But they have 2
Yeah.
pole vaulters and that's it. But they're 1 and 7. So if you had, if you get 12 points from the pole vault and then you just need 28 other points, and you had your normal BYU mass amounts of qualifiers, between a Mance and a Klinger and whoever, like they could have gotten, Bonds, they could have gotten 28 in between 5, 3, mile, 8 DMR. They definitely could have gotten that in prior years. It's tough to do, but they certainly could have done it. So I thought that was interesting because Houston has pole vaulters and throwers going.
That's
They're
so
both future
crazy.
Big 12 schools too. Future Big 12 schools.
Yeah. I think Houston's going to be fine outdoors. I think they're still going to put together a good 4x1. I think they're going to lick their wounds from the indoor season. And I think Sean Moss-Galway is going to be legit outdoor season. He ran sub 10. You don't run sub 10 and not fall apart like that. So I'm pretty
Oh,
confident
100%.
Houston will be more of a factor when you get to the outdoor season.
All right,
Anything
lightning
else?
round. Men's
Lightning
60.
round? Okay.
Give me your picks
Oh,
or your thoughts. Men's 60. I'm going Makai
picks or
Williams.
thoughts?
Either
Go
one.
Makai Williams as well.
Okay. 800 we talked about. Mile we talked about. Talked about the hurdles. 4x4 men.
Florida.
Yeah. Iowa number 2. Man, Iowa always men's 4x4. They're always right there. Again, I like A&T. If I'm going to pick them to win, I think I need to pick them to get that 4x4. Women's DMR.
Ooh. Arkansas. They're just so much better. No, actually, I take that back. Because Arkansas won't be running the people that they ran because they'll be in the 5K or running a mile. So I'm going to go with
Yeah.
Washington. Go with Washington.
Interesting.
Washington women.
Women's 8.
Women's 8. Lindsey Butler, Virginia Tech. That's where I ranked number 1.
Top seed. Yep. All right. That's it. It's all we got. You could go on forever. We're going to do a pod Friday. So any last minute things that need to be previewed, we'll do them Friday morning and post it really quickly before the meet starts on Friday.
Here's the question I have for you. Okay, first of all, get picks in. Guys, go 5 for 5. Kevin, I'm asking you. All right. So there are how many events in track and field?
A lot, some say. Talking about men and women?
There are 17. So 17 times 2 is 34. Okay. So I have 34 number 1 seeds according to my rankings. How many of my 34 number 1 seeds will win?
Oh, okay. Hold on. So this is I'm actually going to go through this. Williams, yes. Bowling, I guess because I said no before, I'm got to go no. Ross, yes. So there's 2. Cunningham, 3. This is gonna take a long time. I'm gonna say.
Just guess.
I'm gonna say. Well, just based on that, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use the sprints and then extrapolate from there. Okay. So you have Cunningham, which I agree with. You have Ross, which I agree with. The 200, I'm going no. So I'm 75% of the men, but then on the women, no, yes. Yeah. Man. I'll say 20.
So 20 out of 34.
Yeah.
That's what you think of my track intelligence. I'm going to be 20 out of 34. What's that hit rate? What's 20 divided by 34?
It's not bad. You make money on 20 out of 34.
That's 588. If I had a batting percentage of 588, I would be Hall of Famer.
What do you think it's going to be?
Greatest of all time. I mean, I want to say I'm going 34 for 34. That's my goal every year is to go 34 for 34. But I never do, which is frustrating.
Do you keep track?
Yeah, I always look like how many I got right. Because I think it would
What's
be
your
cool if
best?
I did ever go 34 for 34, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm a genius, and I could tweet it out just for that, like karma. No, I don't know. I'll probably go like, I think a good day would be in the 20s
What's
because
your
things
best?
happen. I don't know.
Oh, you
I
don't
don't have
actually
any.
keep track.
No, I look at it that day, and then I'm like, forget about it.
This is probably 17 or 20. It's hard. It's definitely hard because there's a field of 16. So it's difficult
Yeah.
to narrow that down. All right. Make your picks. It's in the chat, right? People are watching live. And if they're not watching live, it's on the site for the picks. Is that how you want to do it? Okay, cool.
Make your picks.
All right.
And you got to
FloTrackPodcast
put
at
your phone number
gmail.com.
in. Got to
Got
put
to
your
put
phone
your phone
number in if
number
you
in.
want to win. You want to win.
Yeah. Don't forget. Don't forget. Thanks to Colt. Thanks to Travis. Thanks for our sponsor, Hoka. Remember, Hoka.com. Hoka faster forward. We'll be back with one more pod this week on Friday morning, where Gordon will be on location in Birmingham. We will talk to you guys then.